He's volunteering. He's a busy pastor. He's volunteering his time to invest in you, and you're not receiving it. And he's a successful church planter. He's a successful coach, and you're not receiving his coaching. And you've got to deal with that. Just got to wrestle with God on those things. And so we just cut him loose. A year later, he came to a retreat that we had, and he came to me and said, Gary, a year ago I was so mad at you for what you did to me. And he said, but I need to ask you for forgiveness. And basically him and God did business. And sometimes you got to make room for them to do business with God. And you know what? That guy now has become, his church started growing after that. And he did business with God, and him and Jesus are working together to see that church grow. And now he's a coach of coaches and coach of other leaders. And so it's just good to see that. Sometimes you got to have those hard conversations, but sometimes they need to, you speak the truth in love, and they'll come back to you, right? In that way. Okay, so that kind of gets you through the what I call, the coaching life cycle, what you go through in different areas, and hopefully you won't have to deal with rebellion. You just have to, you will have to deal with resentment at some level, but hopefully you won't have to deal with rebellion. Okay. All right, let's talk what happens in the coaching appointment. As we kind of discuss this. Basically, there are three things. Our coaching system is based on the 3 C's: connecting, clarifying, and committing. Connecting relationally, clarifying strategically, and committing specifically. And so one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we hit all 3 of those in a coaching appointment. So we connect relationally with the leader or his leadership team. Establishing trust and credibility is essential to the coaching relationship. Coaching is coming alongside one as an ally and a partner to help them overcome the obstacles facing them. And so we need to connect relationally with the church planter and just care about them as a person. Care about them as a child of God, as a follower of Jesus, and a minister of the gospel. And so that's one of the key areas there. And then clarifying strategically is really kind of wrestling with the issues that they're facing. One of the questions I ask all the time is, what are the key issues you want to talk about during our coaching appointment? So reviewing their progress, addressing obstacles, engaging in problem solving, finding tools and resources that apply towards their goals, okay, and to help them. And so connecting, clarifying, and then getting them to commit. Commit to a specific action plan. Commit to achieving something, right? So each coaching session ends with a concise action plans to help the leader or the leadership team improve where desired. Creating an action plan is a joint effort between the coach and the leaders with specific due dates for completion, so there's accountability in the relationship. Here's the deal. You can have connecting, relationally. You can have clarifying strategically. But if you don't have, it's almost like you could look at this as a 3-legged stool also. If you don't have one of these, it's not a coaching appointment. Okay? So in 1 hour, I want to accomplish these 3 things. In 1 hour, if I had a good coaching appointment, I connect it with them. I know what's going on in their family to some level, what's going on in their heart, what's going on in their soul. I know what's going on in their ministry, and then I'm going to get them to commit to action items, whatever those are. And here's the deal. The more driven the leader is, the more action items you load up on them. Yeah. Okay? To give them more focus. And so that's one of the things you want to look at. So, but you take one of these away, I think it's not a coaching appointment. Okay? I mean, you can connect with them, and that's a friendship, right? It's a friendship. If you're only connected with them, then it's a friendship. If you're only doing problem solving with them, then you're just a consultant, right? And then if you're only just getting them to do stuff, you're just a boss, right? And coaching's more than that, Coaching is that coming alongside with them as a friend or an ally to help them achieve what they want to achieve. So that gives you a little oversight of how we look at that. Inside this are skills, okay? And so credibility is what I call, how do you gain credibility as a coach? What makes you a credible coach? See, one of the things, there are what I call life coaches, right? And you want to be coached by someone who's got their life together, right? If someone's going to be your life coach, take a look at their life first. All right? And, it's important. I think if you want a church planting coach, I think you got to have somebody who's successfully planted a church, right? And so one of the things we do is we want to make sure that we involve people in our coaching movement. Like I'll start bringing a church planter with me on coaching assignments who's moving towards what I call the three things of a successful church plant: self-supporting, self-governing, self-propagating. And that's the goal. We want to see these churches become self-supporting. In a sense, they're not relying on outside income. Self-governing, they're not relying on outside leadership. And self-propagating, they are reproducing themselves, and making disciples, small groups, leaders, and, Lord willing, churches. And so credibility is a real factor. We talk about how to grow as a coach in those areas. Active listening. Active listening is a critical skill in coaching, and we're going to spend some time talking about that today. Asking good questions is another great skill that you need in coaching. It's a skill that's developed. Goal setting. So today we're going to really address these three are the foundational ones: active listening, asking good questions, goal setting. Those are the three critical foundational ones. Then as you grow as a coach, we develop some problem solving skills, become a better truth teller, become a better grace giver, and then learn how to resource leaders well, help them to find the right resources for the right setting for them, and then sponsoring. And that's basically giving them opportunities to excel in leadership. And that's one of the things that I do with my church planters all the time, people I've coached. I'm looking to give them opportunities to shine, to increase their leadership, to become better leaders. And so basically the 5 church planting directors I have are 5 guys that I've invested in over the last 10 years. And now we've risen them to a level of where now they have responsibility for a region. And so they're still pastoring their church, but now they have responsibility for a region. And so we've given them opportunities. I've helped guys get opportunities to serve on different boards, to speak at different conferences. And that's what you do as a coach. It's one of the things you do. You want to promote them. You want to push them farther than you are, So, so those are some of the micro skills going on there. So let's talk about the anatomy of a coaching appointment. What does a coaching appointment look like? Well, there's before, during, and after, okay? And before the coaching appointment, which could be, let's say, 3 days before, you've got an appointment set on your calendar. And so what I do is I send them 6 questions, okay? I call it the Big 6. And in doing this, it helps them become better prepared for the meeting, for the coach. They come prepared to the coaching meeting, okay? And the more prepared they are, I believe the more they'll get out of the coaching appointment, all right? So here are my 6 key questions. And Brian's heard these, for 2 years now. You got them all memorized, Brian? The first one is, what 2 to 3 issues do you want to talk about, or topics do you want to talk about in our coaching session today? And so just trying to get them to help them set the agenda. What this does, this helps me understand if their head's in the game, okay? Because, if I'm working with a church planter and they've just started their church planting process, and right now they're in their fundraising part of their church plant, we tell them in First Steps that they need to spend 70% of their time in fundraising. Okay? And so if they're coming to me and we're right in that heavy fundraising time, and they're saying, hey, what would be a good first sermon series to do for my church plant? Their head's not in the game, right? That's 18 months away, maybe, or 12 months away, or 9 months away. Their head's not in the game. They need to be focused on fundraising. And so that just helps me, if they write, hey, they write 3 things, I want to talk about this about fundraising, this about fundraising, this about, then I know their head's in the game. Okay, they know that they need to be doing. And then if their head's not in the game, then I need to kind of help them readjust, clarify, and get them focused on the right things at that time. So that's part of that agenda question. Really helps you as a coach see if their heads are in the game. And then I usually send them a reminder of the 6 questions. So the first question is, what 2 to 3 topics or issues do you want to talk about? I had one of my church planters. He didn't like the word issues. I mean, he wouldn't fill it out. I mean, when I say, what 2 to 3 issues do you want to talk about in your church plant? He wouldn't fill it out. He says, because I don't have any issues. Well, he really did have issues. I mean, that's yeah, that was one of his issues. And so I go, why don't you fill this out? Your head's not in the game. I guess I felt like your head's. That was one of my. Why don't you fill this out? You never put anything under that. He goes, well, I don't have any issues. Well, he had a lot of issues, and he's not even in ministry anymore. So, the second question is, what can we celebrate since our last coaching session? So, what can we celebrate? That's what we call a progress question. We're going to see progress. Again, you can kind of get their state of mind, how they're coming into the coaching appointment. You can see what's important to them. What are they celebrating? What can they celebrate since the last time you met? The third question is, how are you progressing on your goals? Okay, so you've given them some action items, and so the third question is they're reviewing their action items for that month or 2 weeks, however you do your coaching sessions. But how are you progressing on those? The fourth question is, what obstacles are you facing, or what challenges are you facing today? And so again, can they identify what they're struggling with? And then the fifth question is, how can I pray for you and your ministry? And the last question, which I ask all the time, is, how can I pray for you and your family? Okay. And so those 6 questions kind of prepare them for the meeting. And so I like to get them at least 24 hours to them ahead for them, so they can kind of prepare. And then me as a coach, I look at those in my preparation for the meeting, at least a half hour, 15 minutes before my coaching session with them. I take a look at those questions and kind of map out what we're going to talk about today. Yes?
Just to clarify, you get the answers to these questions 24 hours before the meeting?
No, well...
You give them the questions and ask them to bring the answers?
Well, I ask them to send them to me before we have the meeting. So at least I get them there a half hour before we meet.
Okay.
Yep. So, and the earlier I get them, the better I can be prepared for them. So we send them the big 6 questions, and then we remind them of the action items and points. Then during the meeting, you're doing the 3 things, right? During the meeting, you're connecting with them, you're clarifying, the issues that they're facing, and you're committing. And see, when you got those questions, you can connect faster. When you got those questions answered, you can it helps. It could take you a half hour to address those 6 questions. And if you do that before the meeting, it bring more focus to the meeting. And instead of having a 3-hour coaching meeting, you can have an hour and a half coaching meeting, okay? So that's one of the tools that we use. After the meeting, I send them words of encouragement, celebrate their progress, what God's doing with them, and then summarize and remind them and send them the action points, okay? And so I want to encourage them with words of encouragement, and then I want to, again, the mutual agreement is the action items. And we're going to talk about how do you get mutual agreement? How do you get mutual agreement for the next steps they're going to take? Because if you just give them a duty to do, they're not going to own it. It's got to be something they're going to own, that they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to climb this hill. I'm going to try to get this done in the next 30 days or 15 days or whatever it is. Okay? All right, so that's the anatomy of a coaching appointment. What I want to show you before we take lunch is a coaching management system that I use, and that's available to you. And let me find it here. I'm going to log out real quick. Let's see, log out. CoachNet, let's go to the home here. CoachNet Global is the brainchild of Dr. Robert Logan. Bob Logan is one of my mentors, one of my coaches in my life. He actually started his church planting venture back in the late 70s and planted churches for years, and came up with what for my generation was the foundational church planting tool, and it was called the Church Planting Toolkit. And that was really the foundational tool that my generation used. And so basically he said, I just wanted to help guys plant their church, because when I got there was no roadmap for church planting. And he had a vision for it. Well, he created this website back when websites weren't even popular. But how many remember the old BBB thing or whatever it was, the bulletin board systems? I mean, so he began developing these things. He was really ahead of his game, a visionary, and really actually started talking about coaching before it became popular in the business world. In the early 90s, it started becoming very popular in the business world, coaching. And why did coaching become such a phenomenon that it is today? Here's the issue, is that the 90s were the information age, right? And flooded with information. I mean, every day our email boxes are flooded with information, and there's so many multiple choices that we have. And what happens is that people need help in implementing ideas. And so we've got myriads of ideas that are flooding us, and some are good, some are bad, and to sort through those is difficult for the average leader. And so you need a coach to help you implement information, right? To filter the information. One of the things I talk about, in one of the articles I wrote on a mark of a coachable leader, is just, what are the filters in your life? Who should you be listening to? Who should you stop listening to? Right? All those kind of things. And for young leaders, it is amazing. They're getting bad information on a lot of things, and we're seeing the results of it in some of the churches they're planting. So we're just talking about, that's why coaching is so important, because we've just been overloaded with there is so much information that it's mind-numbing at times. And you need a coach to kind of guide them and point them in the right direction to the right resources at the right time for them. And so that's why coaching became so popular. And so he developed this website, and this website has lots of information on it, okay? Myriads of information. More information than we'll ever use in a lifetime. And it's got everything I've written on it, so it's a resource that way. But the gold of this site, the precious jewel of this site, is the coaching management system. And now the new owner of CoachNet, Bob, sold this to, I'm losing his name. It'll pop in my head. I know his last name. So it's a gentleman who lives here in Cleveland, actually, and Jonathan Wrights. Jonathan Wrights is the new owner of CoachNet. One of the things Jonathan wanted to do is he wanted to provide some kind of because this is a subscription-based tool. He wanted to provide one a part of it that's free, and so now he's basically said to anybody, because he believes in coaching, that the coaching management system is free. And so you can have access to that. If you want to purchase the information and the other levels of stuff there, you can do that, and I'll show you how to do that later. But I'm going to take you through this and show you the coaching tool. And there's a couple of tutorials on how to use this coaching tool. But this is the best. Now it's free, so you have no excuse in not using it, okay? But this is only one of a few around the country where you can manage your coaching relationships online. And so we want to show you this. All right, so you log in. I'm going to log in. Enter. And under it says coaching tool. And so I have a very extensive, coaching, and, this coaching tool has helped me multiply. I basically went from coaching, 10 people a year to 20 people a year because of this coaching tool. It just brings more focus to this and more skill. And so we even use it in group coaching. So I've got Dan Harrison is my coach of coaches now. And so they use the tool for that. I actually coach coaching coordinators, so I've got like 10 Dans around the country who I work with, and so I use that in my coaching relationship with them in group coaching. We use it a little differently in group coaching than we do in one-on-one coaching, but you can see just a number of things here. We have Open Bible right here, so you can see these are all the coaching relationships that Brian and I have had over the last, 14, 15 months. And so I can open those and show you stuff. Should I show them the early ones? You okay with it? Okay, let me show you. Here's a couple. So, for instance, actually what I'll do is, let's see. Our next coaching appointment is like July 1st, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, July.
Is it July 1st or July 7th, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to set up one of our coaching appointments, so I'll show you how to do this.
No, July 1st. You were right first time.
Well, was it July 1st, a Sunday?
Yes. Yes. Must be wrong again. Okay, that I'm in June.
Oh, there it is, July 6th, that's right. Okay. So, July 6th, I'm going to set the date. I'm going to create a new coaching session. And what I do is I type in these questions. And so basically, what's the first question? What's question number 1?
What is your issue?
What are your issues? All right. What 2 to 3 topics do you want to discuss? Oops. Do who want to do? Do woo? Do you want to discuss? All right, so that's question 1. That's under agenda, okay? So that's under agenda, right? Then, under progress, okay, what can we celebrate? All right, what's the third question? It's a progress question, all right? How are you doing on your goals? Yep. Challenges. What obstacles facing today? Or what obstacles are you facing in your ministry? You can be a little creative there, but and then the last 2. Did I spell ministry right? There we go. See, this is why I should have paid attention in 7th grade typing class. Yeah. Who would have thought in 1972 that I'd be typing there all my whole life? Oops.
With men.
Stop it! You want to be with a man, don't you?
Yes.
Well, then stop it. Don't be such a big baby.
I wash my hands a lot.
That's all right. I wash my hands all the time. There's a lot of germs in there. Yeah, don't worry about that one.
I'm afraid to drive.
Well, stop it! How are you going to get around? Get in the car and drive, you kook. Stop
You stop it!
What's the problem? Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like this therapy at all. You're just telling me to stop it.
And you don't like it?
No, I don't.
So you think we're moving too fast, is that it?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, then let me give you 10 words that I think will clear everything up for you. You want to get a pad and a pencil for this one?
Right.
Are you ready? Right here are the 10 words. Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box!
All right, that's how you don't do coaching. So, actually, Actually, that's how I did pastoral counseling, and that's why I'm not a pastor anymore. All right. Great. Let me show you one little thing here on CoachNet. In CoachNet, let's go here. You can, the coaching tool since just over the last, I think 3 to 4 months, or I think when he did the free coaching tool. I just launched that, but in CoachNet there are lots of materials for pastors and church planters. Again, there are several what we call online classes for you to do through this, to take leaders through it. Leadership development, all sorts of material that's on there, and so basically what. So there's all sorts of make sure you put that. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll start over. This is just. We don't need to record this, but you can if you want to. How's the batteries? I didn't even check that. Think we're okay? Yep. Okay. All right. Okay, but I just want to kind of just walk you through CoachNet a little bit. There's all sorts of. There's a whole page on coaching here. Lots of coaching resources that you can go through. Now, this would be the paid subscription thing, and I'll show you how to do that. The coaching tool's free. One of the things is that you can do a coaching assessment. So if you've coached like 3 people, you basically they go on for like $25. They go on the site and they do this whole inventory asking about their coaching relationship with you, and then you get a feedback report that says, here's sort of like a 360 review, okay, on your coaching. And so I use that periodically with people that I coach just to kind of upgrade my skills in coaching. There are, let me go back here, leadership development, all sorts of resources here for personal development as a leader, for ministry development, for resourcing for small groups, discipleship, building community, and then just professional development and working with teams. There's another network is church planting, and all sorts of resources here for coaching church planters, and also for being a part of a multiplication system, and for movement leaders. There's the church health segment here. Let's see. Natural church development is this church health tool. All sorts of resources there for doing a natural church development survey and resources of how to implement natural church development. How many of you are familiar with, some of you are familiar with natural church development? Okay, a little bit. Natural church development was something by a German theologian developed in the mid-90s, and he studied 1,000 churches, 1,000 growing churches across the globe in several countries, and came up with these 8 characteristics of healthy churches. And we had the privilege of being one of those 1,000 churches that was studied, and so that's how I got familiarized with it. But basically what he does, he basically takes these 8 systems, and he says every church needs to be working on these 8 systems in their church. Like inspiring worship, leadership development, need-oriented evangelism, holistic small groups, effective systems, a whole passionate spirituality. And basically what he does is you give a survey to about 30 leaders in your church, and those 30 leaders take the survey, and basically that gives you feedback and where's your strength and where's your weakness. And one of the things we always talk about is maximize your strength and try to minimize your weaknesses. Okay, and part of that is you take your, like I just did one with a church where their minimum factor was inspiring worship. but their strength was passionate spirituality. And I said, what we need to do is figure out how to take the passion that you have in your spiritual formation system and fuel that into your worship system. And so now I'm coaching that leader in how to upgrade that. And so that's on here. There's just tons of material on there for you to use and look at. And then the First Steps Network, which is my network, the network that I've developed here in partnership with them. And so everything I've written on church planting's on here. And so, some of you have my church planting manual book. And one of the things that's on there is there's actually what I call an encyclopedia of church planting knowledge. You can click on here, and it's kind of I've taken the First Steps book and I've put it in alphabetical order to key issues like agenda harmony, assimilation, building a launch team, children's ministry, all that kind of stuff. It's all on there in short little articles, and you can take that, you can print it off, you can email it to somebody. I mean, that's the way we've kind of developed it. And then the other piece that I've just developed are these new coaching guides. And so these are 13 coaching guides, which if you go to the back of your book, you'll see them here in the appendix on page 28. You'll see those coaching guides are on there, and so you can get those, download those. They're in a PDF format, and you can send them to your church planter and have them fill it out and work them through the process. Okay? So, and we'll talk about how to use those in a little bit. So that's kind of gives a little bit on that. Now, one of the great things about this, let's say you're a pastor and you're struggling with an issue in your church, okay? And someone just give me a topic or an issue that you're wrestling with in your church. No one's got any issues, huh? How about evangelism, right? We all want to be better at evangelism. Maybe we need some ideas on evangelism. How do we equip our people in evangelism? So you go to the search box. This is gold here, okay? I'm just telling you, this is type in evangelism in the search box. And hit go. And basically, these are what we call coaching guides. And so there's about 20 on each page, right? And there's at least 5 pages of 20. 100 ideas that you can go through to just whatever you're dealing with evangelism. So here, effective evangelism, oikos evangelism, personal strategy. Here's one. Personal strategy. Here's a downloadable thing on developing a personal strategy for evangelism. So, boom. Here it is. There's a worksheet, that you can work with a church planter. You can do it yourself. Work with your leadership team to say, these are the issues we need to think about for evangelism. Yes.
Are these resources only available to the paying clients?
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
we have the one that is the free section. I just want everybody to
Yep.
understand. And then there's, if you want all of the resources like this, then there's an annual fee.
Right. Yep.
What is the annual fee?
We'll show you that in a second, because we're going to give you a great deal if you want to. So participate in that. So anyway, so there's different ideas, okay, like that. Then and this is because one of the things we talk about is resourcing the church planter, right? And so as a coach, you need to have access to tools to help resource them. And so this is where you get these resources, right? And that's where you can use those in that way. But so like say I would type something in there, leaders, right? Leadership development. It's good. Elders, working with elder boards or deacon boards or whatever. All that stuff's in there. Everything that Bob Logan has written for 30 years and everything I've written for the last 10 years is on here. And so that's part of the dynamic there. And one of the things, actually, he added more stuff because he used to teach classes at Fuller Seminary on all this stuff, and he would get stuff from his students, all the stuff his students developed, and they put that all on there. So that's part of the dynamic there. If you're interested in getting this, you can go to my site to get what I call the First Steps Network and the CoachNet. You can go to yourjourneyresources.com, and if you just hit coaching, you'll see it under here, First Steps Coaching Network, and just click on there. And typically it's, $199 is retail. We sell for $99, but for you, over the next month, if you just type in the word, let's see if I can do this right. Okay. I think I did it. Type in the code Coaching Open Bible, and you apply, you'll save $20 on that. So if that's something you want, there's your way to get it, okay? So, but again, the coaching tool's free, the content is what we get, there's a subscription for that, all right? So, and then basically I think the initial price is, $119, but then there's a renewal, you can annually renewal for $75, so. All right, so it gives you an idea there. Okay. Any questions, comments?
You can check your mic out.
Okay. Is this one on? And just say, how can I pray for you? And sometimes she'll get like a 5-page letter about what's going on, and then my wife will just say, you need to pay attention to this situation a little more over here, but not go into any details. So that's one way, but I like taking them out for lunch or dinner, as a couple, and kind of do, maybe not the formal coaching appointment, but I'll just ask the wife, how's it going? And I'll ask the wife, is he taking his day off? That kind of stuff. So, yes.
Is there some situations like, we have a situation right now where the planter feels like his wife is kind of a co-pastor almost type
Yeah.
of situation.
Yeah, then definitely,
So you want to probably
yes.
include it more
Yep.
in those kind of situations.
yeah, that, in your movement, that's, you should, if they're viewed as a co-pastor, yes, you need to be providing coaching for both of them. I would do the coaching session with them both, so. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. We're ready for the next session here. Foundational coaching skills. Okay, just some foundational coaching skills. And what we're going to look at are 3 foundational coaching skills: listening, active listening, asking good questions, and then learning how to gain commitment to specific action steps for the church, for the pastor or church planter. The first foundational skill, we're on page 10, is listening. And here's my little rule, little statement that I've written that kind of helps me over the years of coaching. I know I've had a good coaching appointment when I have finished my meal long before the person I'm coaching. Because what that means is that I'm eating and I'm listening, and they're talking. And so that's part of it. The Bible has a lot to say about about listening, about tuning in to others before we speak. And I love the Proverbs, Proverbs 18:13. He who answers before listening, that is his folly and a shame. Proverbs 18:2. A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinions. And he who lacks judgment derides his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his tongue. A word aptly spoken is like apples of gold and settings of silver. Sometimes you can have the right word for the wrong time, right? Have you ever done that? and sometimes God gives you the right word at the right time. And it's just precious to that person. And all of us can think of those. I can think of things that people said to me at the right time, at the right place, in the right moment, where the Spirit of God used that to change the course of my life. A man finds joy in giving an apt reply. How good is a timely word? And so that's all key in listening. James Kuzner and Barry Posey, in their classic book on credibility and leadership, they said, people know they are respected and valued when they are listened to. Being able to listen well is not easy. Do what it takes to become a better listener. No matter how good you think you are at listening, make an active plan to do something about being better. Okay? And so let's not just take listening for granted. It's a skill. It's something that we have to learn and mature over our whole life. There's empathic listening and autobiographical listening. Empathic listening, as Stephen Covey defines in his great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says empathic listening gets inside the other person's frame of reference. You look throughout it. You see the world the way they see the world. You understand their paradigm. You understand how they feel. When you're really good at listening, you start getting into their world, right? And you start viewing the world from their eyes, and you start feeling the world from their feelings. But too often is that because of our sinful nature, we're autobiographical listeners. And look at the definition here for being an autobiographical listener is autobiographical listening may stimulate judgment in which either our own negative or positive related experiences prejudice our listening. And so basically we're listening to people through our own experiences, right? And how many times we share with somebody that we have an illness, right? Or we're struggling with an illness, or a friend or a family member is. They say, "Oh, well, I remember a time when." I went through that, right? And so that's basically listening to them through our own experiences, and we're not getting into it. He goes on. He says. These things prejudice our listening, in which we compare our situation to theirs, or in which we get lost in the attentiveness of our own story, And so we're not getting beyond ourselves and into their story. And I think that's really, really important. And that's something that, that because of our sinful nature, we will wrestle with until we're in heaven. Okay? And we're set free from it. But so that's why we just need to continue working on this skill of listening in our lives. So what are some barriers to empathic listening? Number 1, ignoring. Okay? That's just tuning people out. And what are the causes? I don't care, right? I really don't care what's going on in your world. Hey, that's your problem, buddy. And so, it's really a selfishness. It's a selfish attitude, a self-absorption. And number 2, fake listening. Causes for fake listening, basically no emotional connection. We don't have any emotional connection. We're going through the motions without seeking to understand. We don't have an emotional connection with them to really desire to understand what they're feeling, what they're going through in their lives. The third level of barrier is selective listening. Selective listening is it only hears parts of what's being said, or only hearing what they want to hear. Only hearing what they want to hear. predisposed by, here's some of the causes, predisposed biases. We have a certain bias about this situation, about this person. There are environmental distraction. Maybe we're in a room that's distracting, or in a place of business or a restaurant or whatever that's very distracting. And just the other one, just lack of concentration. We're not concentrating on what people are saying and engaging into the emotions about what they're saying. The fourth level of listening is respectful listening. Only hearing the words and missing the feelings behind the words. Okay? We're hearing the words, but we're not connecting with the feelings behind the words. And the causes for that are just impatience. We're being impatient with them. The other thing is we process data too quickly. I do that all the time. I'm just, right now they're telling me their problem, and I'm already thinking about a solution, right? I'm always thinking, here's 5 steps to get out of this mess, right? And my wife says, I don't want to hear how to get out of the mess. I want you to listen to my mess first, because I know how to get out of the mess. I want you to hear what I'm going through, right? And so we have that going on for 30 years. So, but too quickly to move on to the other subject. Stop it, right? That's right. Stop it. Yeah. So, and we're respectfully listening to people. We're too quick to move on to the other subject. We're not engaging them, and then the last one is autobiographical listening. Now, I've in marriage we do a lot of respectful listening, don't we? So I'm sitting there one day, and they had the football games on, right? And my wife comes over, and I've learned, 30 years of marriage, I've learned to mute the game. Okay. So no, I haven't done that yet. I mute it and I put it down, and I turned over here and I'm listening to my wife, right? And I'm focused on her. My body language is leaning in, she has something important to tell me, and I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden in the midst of her conversation, she says, "You're not hearing a word I'm saying, aren't you?" And I had to come clean. I said, "Yeah, honey, there's a good game going on." You ever happen to see it? Just like you're listening, you got the body language, but you're not even engaging, right? And so we've got to work on our listening. Level 5 is just autobiographical listening. The causes of that is just selfishness, right? I'm the center of the world. Me theology, right? Meology really should be not. There's no such thing as me theology. It's meology. Unable to step out of your own circumstances. That's when you're unable to step out of your own circumstances. That's just a view of immaturity, and we need to move beyond that. So, other causes here I list on the bottom of the page. Tired physically. I'm just too tired to focus on others. Emotionally distracted. I can't detach from my emotions over an issue. Relationally cluttered. I got unresolved issues with others in my life, and so I'm always thinking about those. I'm spiritually out of focus. I'm out of touch with God and relying on the flesh instead of relying on the Spirit, and all those things. So how do we? What are some skills for empathic listening? That'll keep you engaged in the listening process, that'll help you draw the right things out of people. A couple things. One tool is restate the content, okay? You do that by simply repeat back the words you hear. This is least effective, but still it is a necessary skill. It's useful because it allows the person to continue speaking and requires you to pay attention. So you're kind of restating what they said in your own words to make sure you're getting it, okay? Paraphrase, again, restate the content in your own words. When you paraphrase, The speaker is encouraged to keep on speaking and does so with some confidence that you understand what's being said. If you didn't understand, there's an opportunity for the speaker to explain. Reflect feeling. Tell the speaker the feeling that you're hearing in their words. For example, it sounds like you're upset with what has happened. An appropriate reflection gives the person a real sense of your commitment to listening. They will, in turn, be more committed to explaining their perspective to you. You know, I was working with a church planter who was talking about a gentleman who left his church. And it just really was like stuck deep in his heart. I mean, yes, pastors, we deal with it all the time, right? We deal with people, just the level of rejection that we have to deal with on some level. And so, but this was just, he just kept coming back to the same guy who wasn't going beyond it. And so I just kept praying and just trying to get to resolve this issue, to kind of get this so I could understand where this hurt and pain is coming from. And so, you know, kept asking questions, and finally, through one of the questions I asked, he basically came out and he said, you know, basically my best friend left the church. And when he said that, I was right in his world. And I, you know, but that took time and prayer and for get him to say that and trust me with it. And I got into his world. I saw the pain through his eyes, and and so we just focused on that, and we worked on that and dealt with that, and didn't worry about all the other things, and just prayed for healing in his soul, and prayed for an opportunity, for him to, I said, I encourage him not to close the door. Let's pray that maybe he would come back. And, the cool thing is eventually the guy did come back. But that's part of the coaching process, to get into their world. How do you get into their world? And number 4, one of the ways you do it is by asking open, positive questions, kind of open-ended, positive questions that help you. You don't want to get in, we're going to talk about the whole thing on doing good questions, but you want to ask those open questions to why they're experiencing. Why is this bothering? And I think I even asked the question, why is this, it sounds like this pain is so deep. Why is the hurt there so deep? And he said, well, I guess my best friend left the church, so. All right, so just there's just some skills to help you become a better listener. Some of the benefits of empathic listening is it shows concern for others, shows others that they're respected and considered worthwhile. The experience of being taken in and heard is more central than the content being exchanged. It legitimizes the world view of the person, and they feel affirmed in it. It allows one to begin letting go of some of their defensiveness, and then the experience of affirmation increases one's capacity to affirm others. One of the things you got to work with pastors and church planners on is if they're not feeling affirmed, they're not affirming others. And they're going to burn out their volunteers, and they're going to turn their volunteers and their leaders away. And so how do they affirm them? All right. So there's a couple things. What we're going to have you do now, this afternoon we're going to do some hands-on stuff. And so I dug up this on the internet, found this little listening assessment worksheet. And so what I want you to do is I want you to take some time, take about 10 minutes, kind of work through this and grade yourself, view this from your world, and how would you grade yourself as a listener. If you're really courageous, let your spouse see it. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this. I want you to take about 10 minutes to do it. And then I'm going to give you a coaching exercise. I'm going to break you in groups of 2. And we're going to give you a little coaching exercise where you're going to kind of coach each other in your own listening skills. And so you're going to basically, and I'll walk you through that. But first do this. Start working through that. Start grading yourself. And then I'll pull you back together. I'll give you about 10 minutes to do that.